All right. Here we are, the episode 30 of the late morning program with Namras. I am so incredibly honored and so happy to have Rasik Mohan, Prem Pradip, and Radha Raman Prabhu's, who's in the back there. Uh, Thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'm so honored and I'm so blessed to have your association. You've been living in Vrindavan for so long, and you just dedicated your life to your guru, and we're gonna hear all about it on this episode, guys. This is gonna be really nice. So before I start, um, let's talk a little bit about you guys. I know you guys are monks and you're brahmacharis, and you don't like to talk about yourself, but I'd like to just ask you what is your background like? So you've been living where? What have you been doing for the past let's say 15 years?
So first, I guess it all started. My parents were devotees who joined the movement in the 70s, right after Prabhupada left, but they had come to some Sunday feasts, and then they joined Mount Kailash community
Mm-hmm.
in California. When I was born, they had already moved to San Clemente, Orange County, LA area. And then when I was 2, we moved up to New Braj, the Badger community. It was a great, wonderful community. It's continuing going on. We had about 300 devotees living there, and it was really, really fantastic.
Right.
So we grew up there. He also grew up in Badger.
Cool.
And
This is under the guidance of His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, who's your gurus.
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. When we were young, very young, at that time we would have Annakut festivals, Rath Yatra festivals. Before he came, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, I was 9 when he came. He was
5.
Wow.
5. So, that was just a very special experience. But really, we're fortunate that from the time we were just babies, his parents were Prabhupada disciples.
Amazing. Wow.
And so, Brajendanandan Prabhu.
Okay.
Anyhow, so when we were kids, we just were immersed in the bhakti culture. And then I was 9 and he was 5, our Srila Gurudev came, and it was just when you meet someone who really has that sweetness and spiritual gravity, you can just kind of feel the transcendental presence. And
Right.
every year he would come, and so it was like growing up as one of his children also.
Amazing.
And every year he told us he wanted me to grow up and be a brahmachari and serve his mission. So that's since I was 9. Every year he'd see me. He got Diksha when I was 10, Harinam when I was 9. We first went to Kartik. We would go to Kartik every year.
Right.
And then we finished school, and he said, okay, come to the mat and become a brahmachari, serve our mission. So
Amazing.
last 15 years been doing that.
So a good friend of mine who I met before I met you all, Madhukar, he told me about you, and something I noticed that was interesting was that a number of very young, what we say gurukulis, became brahmacharis, and for a very long period. So how many are there like you guys? I mean, there's Madhukar and there's a few.
Yeah. There's a few, some people stay for some time and then, go on to different things. But
Right.
a lot of us, yeah.
I think
lot
it's
of
kind of
us-
unprecedented.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't see that so often.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
In our ashram in Vrindavan, we have about 50, 60 brahmacharis from Russia, from Brazil, from Mexico, from America,
Wow.
England.
Amazing.
So it's pretty far out, yeah.
Amazing. So where did you grow up?
Badger.
In Badger.
New Bridge.
Okay, wonderful. Wow, that's great. And so what are you doing? So you've been in Vrindavan since how long?
So officially moved in 2005, and not just only Vrindavan, but Vrindavan, Mathura, Govardhan, Puri, Navadvip. Really the 3 dhams, Navadvip, Puri, Vrindavan. That's the essence for the Gaudiyas. So we would spend, part of the year in Puri, part of the year in Navadvip, and then majority in Mathura. And then in 2012, when we left the Keshaji Gaudiya Mat, we were in Puri, and then South India, and then we started the Radhakunj Ashram in Vrindavan. So
Tell me a little bit more about that ashram.
it's really far out place. We have 200 Western devotees living there most of the year. Most of the year.
200.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
On the C forms, that's how we fill it out. So it's really cool because for an Indian ashram, it's pretty far out, and it's very
Yeah.
eclectic. It's very diverse. You know, you have prasadam, and we have breakfast. Breakfast is crazy. We'll have like Chinese, Indian, Western, you know, bread, cakes, pizza, pasta. You know, sometimes, but the point is, everyone likes to serve and cook. So, you know, we'll sit down with having prasad with people from 20 nations. You know.
The reputation of that ashram is that the prasadam is very nice.
Yeah, the prasad, the mood is there is that prasad should be for everyone. There's no question where you come from, who's your guru. It's just like, serve prasad. Very
Right.
simple. Prabhupada made it simple. Like, not only should no one go hungry, but people should want to come to, you know, take prasad and relish that Krishna's mercy. So we serve prasad every day to thousands of people. Like during COVID, we started feeding the villages, even the police in the hospitals and outside the ashram. For years, we've been feeding, you know, 600 to 1,000 people daily. And then during COVID, we've increased it. And now we just continue serving outside and inside also. So it's pretty far out. It's nice, you know, big kitchen, everything with wood and cow dung, very clean. During the COVID, very few kitchens were allowed to be serving the public like we are. And so the inspection people came, and Food and Drug, you know, in India, and they gave us top marks, like A+ marks, like, and said, you know, they increased our distribution. So it's really nice, clean, and everyone participates, everyone cuts up and cooks. We don't, you know, no one's hired. It's all just devotee run and devotee operated, and it's just free for all. The idea is that, you know, Lakshmi Devi, you know, Annapurna Devi, she gives, Krishna gives, and if you use what he gives to serve everyone, then she gives back. You know, Krishna is the proprietor. We are just the servants.
I mean, to run an ashram with 200 devotees, that's not a small feat.
Yeah, it's a big operation.
It's a big operation. Wow.
And lots of Thakurji. We have Panchatattva,
Really?
Radha Krishna and Lita Vishaka,
Mm-hmm.
all the Guru Varga and Murti forms for the Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, our Gurudev, Srila Vamana Goswami Maharaj, and every day everyone gets full Abhishek and full Shringar.
2 different levels though.
2 different levels.
Was on the bottom level and Radha Krishna on the other level.
So we'll have Gaur Arti, and then we'll have Yugal Arti, and then, you know, and the Shringar prayers and the morning
Amazing.
and everything. It's pretty far out. So we have like officially like 10 artis a day, because it's like, it's good exercise.
So with that, I have to ask you, what brings you to the USA?
That's the question. That's why we're meeting you here, because we're here. Otherwise we couldn't, right?
Right.
So yeah, I've been there since 15 years. He's been there 14, 15 years. I mean, since 2005, really.
Mm-hmm.
And we had no thought whatsoever of coming. I was trying to get Indian citizenship in January.
Really?
We were both trying to get Indian citizenship, but US, you know, if everyone is watching from the US, you know, they make it difficult, you know, surrendering your passport is a lot of money.
You have to
And then
surrender it.
they want to audit you for 5 years. And it's like, okay, go for it. I got nothing. You know, how much
Yeah.
you want to audit, go for it.
Right.
But, you know, it's just like a lot of loops to jump through. And then, you know, that was kind of going on. And then COVID hit. And COVID's the kind of thing that kind of did you know, like you got a train going and all of a sudden someone changed the tracks somewhere ahead, and just, so everything kind of swerved in a different direction. But as that was going on, for all the Westerners to remain in India became in doubt. Basically, this ashram is a shelter for devotees who want to practice bhajan in India. But now visa status is getting, you know, a lot of Westerners, all the visas were, you know, basically canceled, and they get extended stays, but they're essentially exit permits.
Really?
Yeah, they're exit permits. So essentially, everyone's going to have to leave at some point. Who knows what's going to happen?
Right.
So that was one of the things. And then, you know, it's just for our Srila Gurudev, it's basically, it's, you know, the time came, I guess, to try to broadcast his glories and his mission, and Srila Prabhupada's glories and mission to our small capacity, to add to the family of everyone who's doing that already.
Right.
So really what happened is that, you know, in June, we were told to come to America and try to look for a center, try to look for property to create an ashram.
Wow.
So we came in June.
It reminds me of like how Srila Prabhupada stayed in Vrindavan for a certain amount of time.
Oh, I don't
And
want to
then
compare ourselves.
not compare you, but like that you kind of like it was a preparation. Like these 15 or 16, 14 years was a preparation for you to now come to the US and try to do something for Prachar and
Yeah, basically, like, there's a few things. Ultimately, we want to create a shelter for devotees, and not just devotees. Like, our mood is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. All living entities are part of this family of God, Krishna. And so to create an ashram is a place of shelter where people can connect with their spiritual essence and progress spiritually, and, you know, relieve their material burdens. So, you know, basically the idea is that, you know, every place should have somewhere that can facilitate that. So America, for our mission, it's something that we could do also. And there's some centers in California and in Florida and in Texas, but we didn't really have something on the Upper East Coast.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you
So
why this area
basically,
specifically.
we were thinking specifically this area was we were told, like, not just once, but like again and again and again, you got to do this. And it was like, well, okay, is it a test? Are they really serious? But it was so persistent and with so much confirmation from so many people that it was like, okay, let's do it. So as soon as we made that decision, we kind of met with our God brothers and God sisters and started discussing it. But really, it immediately clicked, like, let's go to New York. Prabhupada came to New York.
Right.
We came to New York. We go to Thompson Square Park, take the dust from where Prabhupada came, and what better place to do something than New York, really?
Right.
New York, New Jersey. There's so much. I guess there's so much energy in the New York region, and we want to be. It's not to criticize anywhere, but not dreamers. Rather, we want to be engaged in tangible, proactive Guru Seva.
Right.
And so I think there's a good energy for that in New York, and people are dynamic and people are open-minded also. But ultimately, why we start in New York, Northeast, it's good to start in Northeast, then you can go,
Yeah. Stop
and
and start on the
around.
corner. And yeah, I mean, what is your feeling after? I mean, so how long have you been out of Vrindavan now?
3 months. No, 4 months now.
So I lived in Vrindavan for some period of time, and when I left, I felt kind of lost, to be honest. I mean, I didn't have a mission like you guys did. My mission was like to get married and to start my grahastha life. But what is your feeling now that you're out of Vrindavan?
Well, I've had different situations at times that I was leaving. So like 2016, we came to get just our visas again.
You came back to America?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like you
First
said
time in
about
like
having
10
a
years.
mission,
Right.
that didn't really feel like a mission. That
Okay.
was like just sitting around, and it was actually kind of miserable.
Right.
But no, what you said is true. When there's a feeling of mission,
Right.
It feels a lot better. That's all I can say.
Right.
You feel like you're still in the seva, and you're not like taking a break or waiting, or you don't feel like unplugged as much.
Sure. Right.
Yeah, same for me. Like, basically, if you're connected to Guru Seva, especially as a brahmachari, you have to be, because otherwise, I guess, the Grahastha ashram is wonderful because it gives you purpose. And if you're a brahmachari and you don't have purpose, and the Grahastha ashram, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, it's the support of society. It's like, there's different perspectives to everything, but essentially, I mean, Grahastha ashram supports society. That's a mission.
Yeah.
That's a mission. And, you start with the nuclear family and the community immediately after that, and then serving society. Essentially, as brahmacharis, we should serve society as well. So we do it from our position, and we all have different roles, but having that sense of purpose and mission is something that gives you something to wake up to. And the great thing about it for us is that when you do things from your own independent desires, you're standing on your own. You're in a position of doubt because you don't have like guru, heavy gravity giving you some solid, okay, this is what I need to do in my life and in my seva. It's just my own idea. I'm just going to go do this and do this. I'm not a pure devotee. We're not pure devotees. We're just brahmacharis trying to serve, our guru and Vaishnavas. So getting, receiving instructions from Guru Vaishnavas and shelter from Guru Vaishnavas and being able to participate and serve our community of devotees in the world, that's really it's something that gives you a lot of inspiration to go about your day.
Well said. Amazing. Wow. I admire that a lot. I really do.
That said, though, it is really sad to be out of Vrindavan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
we have
no.
to.
You have to have that. Yeah, for
I
sure.
guess when we left, the Vaishnavas were telling us that if you're really serving your guru, then guru is always with you, and guru is always with you anyway. Like Paramatma is always with you, but
Right.
the question is, he's with you. Are you with him?
Yeah.
Parama's in the heart, Krishna's in the heart, but are you with him? Are you focused on him and serving him?
Right.
So it's, we feel that connection, but at the same time, it's sad to be gone. But,
Right.
life is full of adaptation and evolution.
Now going back to the, so where did you basically end up? I mean, for the sake, I know,
Yeah.
but for the sake
Yeah.
of our
Wanna
audience
tell
here,
us?
Here in New York.
meaning like
So the ashram. So I'll jump to it.
the ashram. Yeah.
Yesterday we closed on a property. It's been an amazing roller coaster. We were on like 2 months ago. We were on a 4 hours news cycle. Like every 4 hours, something drastic would change.
What do you mean?
Just like the situation, the place. People would say yes. People would say no. It was just very like volatile. Like COVID with the same thing. Things were changing all the time. So it would like morning you'd get one email with one kind of thing, then it would change, then it would change.
So basically, you're trying to secure a property.
securing a property, but also just different ideas, where to go.
Oh, where to go?
Different people, different ideas, which state to go to, where to start things, where to invest things, and also different things like, it was fluctuating a lot. And there was one property we liked a lot, and it was really funny that you want to just I'll just tell you the whole, and you can interrupt.
Please, please go for
It's
it.
a very interesting story for people that, we basically just jumped in the deep end trying to do this. I have no experience doing anything like this, and I've never even been to New York besides once growing up. But, we were very into a beautiful property. The idea is to have a retreat center where, devotees, not just a retreat center, but a bhakti ashram where people can stay and immerse themselves in the bhakti culture and kirtan, harikatha. So that was kind of our purpose. And it's hard to get a place in the city where you can host lots of people for anything reasonable as far as financial capability.
Yeah.
So that's why we're looking a little bit outside the city, but close enough that you can come do Sankirtan, you can come do programs, people can come there and stay, have rooms, things like that. So the first place we were looking at on Janmashtami, they were like, okay, it was a long struggle, and then they raised the price, and then they didn't know if they were going to sell to us or not. They're a Christian group, so I think then they found out we're like quasi-Hindu or whatever you want to call us.
Is that the one where there was the lake?
Yeah.
You jumped into the lake and everything?
Basically,
that was a great place. I was excited about that.
That was really exciting, but basically the place we ended up, when it fell through on Nandotsav.
Yeah.
It fell through on Nandotsav. On Janmashtami, they're like, we'll do it. And then Nandotsav, they said, no, we changed our mind. So I was like, okay, Radhastami, something's going to come through. Krishna's crooked and he's tricky, he's like bait and switch.
All right.
So Krishna's like, okay, bait and switch, okay, Radharani, So on Radhastami, we actually finalized, getting a property we had decided upon. We did the building inspections. We were ready to immediately enter into contract. That was back in Radhastami. So the place is called Ellenville. It's an hour and a half from where we are here in Jersey. And from Manhattan, it's about an hour and a half too. Once you get into Queens, it's about an hour 50, 2 hours. It's a beautiful town. It's very beautiful. I actually say it's better than the other town we were looking at was Liberty, and it's a little farther and a little bit more run down. But Ellenville is a really beautiful town. The Shamwagunk Ridge and the views is gorgeous. 60 acres we got, 60 acres right by a 50-acre lake. So the other one had a small lake on the property.
Yeah.
This one has a huge lake right next to the property.
Wow.
It's a private association of the lake, which we're a club member of.
Of course.
It's beautiful. The property is great. 4 houses, 15 bedrooms, 11 bathrooms, 7 kitchens. 2 sides of the road, 30 acres undeveloped. I sent out a trailer some people probably saw, or we could put it in the description or something.
Sure, we will, yeah.
It's a really beautiful place. It's really nice. We got some Maharajas come today, and and some devotees from up Mantra Central.
So what's your plan for this?
We're having a opening inaugural festival on October 17 and 18.
Okay.
So we'll have a lot of devotees staying there at the property. You're invited.
Yes, I'm totally coming.
Newsflash.
I'm not saying overnight. Probably not, but I will totally come.
17, 18, we'll have Yagya, Abhishek, Kirtan, Harikatha, guests, and things like that.
Wonderful.
Nice prasadam. And going forward, we'll see. Obviously, we want to have a place to host devotees and host festivals and preach from. Preach and spread. Our mission coming here, and it's very important that we have so much connection and love for Srila Prabhupada and our Srila Gurudev. Srila Prabhupada is like, we were told before we came here, Srila Prabhupada is the Ishtadev of America, basically.
Right.
So, we're going to establish our Srila Gurudev's Murti and Prabhupada Murti and, worship them, and then have, we'll have Vigraha come when they desire to, when they decide to.
Right.
You can tell already, there's the whispers of, Vigrahas desiring to come. So
really?
We'll have some beautiful mandir and places, but ultimately, we have different publication sevas and preaching sevas and programs, and I like to be very engaged personally and, try to live in a dynamic way. In the US, it's sink or swim place kind of.
Oh yeah,
in New
totally.
York, 50 acres, 60 acres. We don't have jobs to maintain the place.
Right.
And I don't want to be a burden on, grahastas or even on, Vaishnavas from India. We want to try to, do our best to make a really dynamic place. And so we started, we have a, religious nonprofit. We'll do charity activities, spiritual education, things like that. Keep things very, genuine, have a lot of integrity, a lot of transparency with our operations. But we'll serve through that. And that's an interesting conversation we could segue into, or whatever else you want to talk about. But
sure, no,
basically,
please.
Okay, so there's a lot of things to talk about in relation to that. But basically, my mood is, we're all part of the same spiritual family. And the wider you bring out the circle, the wider you realize everyone's part of the same spiritual family. Like you can say, okay, human beings, but then you could say, no, really all living entities, all creation, it's all Krishna's creation. Ishavashyamidam sarvam. It's all Krishna's jagat. So we should have a sense of, brotherhood. We have these, it's a cliche. And so people think, oh, it's just a cliche. But the more you develop in spirituality, the more you can see the deeper centricity and the deeper connectedness between all beings.
Yeah.
So we see that not only just with our different Vaishnav Sanghas, but also, how can people in general appreciate what Krishna consciousness has to offer if we don't have a sense of brotherhood to people? You have to have a sense of connection through love and care and compassion. People just seeing you have an essential affection for them. Sometimes in preaching, oh, you're eating meat or you're eating, it's like everyone's on the spiritual path in life. And we need to try to help them become more advanced in that, uplift them. And without affection, how can you progress in that? So,
right. I've never seen that before. Wow, that's really amazing. So what enthuses Prem Pradip? What enthuses you about the future of this ashram?
I would say I can speak particularly among our God brothers. There's plenty of fired up people, but it would be really nice to actually get together more in a powerful way. Everyone's been saying it to each other. They're like, oh, we wish things were more dynamic. When Gurudev used to come by every year, or we would follow him around. I mean, it's amazing. But, that's happening less because Srila Gurudev left.
Right.
And everyone's expressing like, I would really like to do something, but like, hopefully this is a way to do it. Interesting.
It's a good point. Something that I find interesting is that this is a project that is fully, the catalyst for this project is second generation devotees, you guys. And that's super inspiring to me. Like for someone like me, for me to kind of take on an ISKCON project, it's like a lot of red tape involved. Just when it comes to like, and this is not a criticism. This is just the size of ISKCON, and it's kind of like you have older devotees in charge. So to give away that responsibility to the younger devotees requires some type of faith in them and things like that. But for what you're doing, it's kind of like trailblazing. You're just like you're blazing your own trail, and I find that really amazing. And I'm just like super excited for what you have in store for the future. And so beyond the tell us about that. Tell us a story about how you secured it.
Yeah. Okay, just one comment though. I just
really
feel like Mahajano Jena Gata Panta.
Yeah.
So in one sense, you could say we're trying to forge a pathway, but in essence, in reality, we're trying to follow the footsteps of our predecessor acharyas.
Sure.
So, but yes, at the same time, there's a balance. I would say that it's very important for us to be under Anugatya and Ashray. Narottam Das Thakur sings, Ashraya Luya Bhaje Thare Krishna Nahi Tyaje Arsab More Akaran. So being under shelter and respecting our seniors and all our senior Vaishnavas, but at the same time, having that faith and trust in you to, kind of, Vaishnavas, Krishna so mercifully always gives you free will and he gives you direction, but ultimately gives you choice. So it's a mixture. The question was, so this is a very interesting part of the story. It was around Baladev Purnima time. So it's been connected to Baladev. There was like 3, chapters going on, Baladev and then Janmashtami and Radhastami.
Right.
Around Baladev Purnima, it was kind of like the support underneath you had seemingly collapsed for a moment, where it seemed like probably wasn't going to happen because there wasn't the some of the financial backing it was a little bit like ephemeral. When it came time to give like actual cash offer and things like that, you have to show. So that kind of, and then we're trying to raise bridge loans and that wasn't working out. So it seemed like it was not going to happen essentially.
And it's probably hard for you to get a mortgage because...
Yeah, not only that hard, but impossible to get a mortgage. I have 0 credit.
Right.
I have no credit history.
Right.
He doesn't have a bank account.
Right.
It's hard to get one because they're like, well, you don't exist. They're like, show us your social security card. It's like,
I really don't exist.
He doesn't exist. He's off the grid. I'm trying to get on the track.
That's so funny.
So yeah, there's no question of mortgaging it. And so it wasn't going to happen essentially. And then right around Baladev Purnima, my friend, I won't name drop, but his name, okay, well, yeah, he doesn't want me to name drop, but it's connected to Baladev.
Sure.
It starts with Ba.
Whoever is watching this
Yeah.
and knows that, you guys, I
So
guess you could.
anyway, it was, I'm telling you, it was like such a crazy thing because it was like, okay, well, we were going to meet our friends in Hawaii and spend some time, and they have like some place there, but it wasn't really, our idea was having a mainland ashram where you can preach from and travel around America from. So that wasn't really going to happen. And it was just when I'd fallen through that, I got a WhatsApp from my friend who said, he said, I got to talk to you. And I said, okay, well, what's up? And I called him and he said, well, my dad just got a check in the mail for 250 grand in his name. And he's a brahmachari also for many years. So the person who had sent it, I won't name drop her name either because she likes to be anonymous, but she's a Christian lady with some idea of kind of reincarnation and samsara and things like that. So she also has understanding of that, but you know, she's Christian, believes in one God and things like that. And she had not really known this guy, met him once, had some interaction, business relationship with his father, and you know, she had decided, I want to give this to a good cause, and I think he will give it the right thing. And so,
amazing.
You know, and then, you know, immediately, because that was what was, you know, we've done different works that we've done, like build our Gurudev Samadhi in Navadvip, and we're trying to build a Pushpa Samadhi in Puri. There's always things going on that, you know, Lakshmi can go to serve, essentially. But, you know, this was obviously clear that actually the craziest part of this story, and it's a very crazy story, beyond the fact that she's not a devotee, I mean, she's not a Hare Krishna, you know, and she hadn't ever, I talked to her the other day and I was like, you know, what are you going to do there? I said, you know, kirtan. She said, what's kirtan? She doesn't even know, you know, like she'll learn and she's going to come and visit, which is far out, you know, but essentially there's no background in this. And we were exactly 250 short on our offer, exactly. And that just, I'm telling you, it's like crazy story. I've told these people and everyone says it's the craziest story they've heard. No relation. And the guy's in India. And it came in Massachusetts. So it's a very interesting story. And it was, you know, for us, it was like a, you know, like when, you know, you're on your 11th hour and you get like an adrenaline shot. It's like, not an adrenaline shot, but it's like, okay, game's on. Yeah. Game's on. So that was around Baladev Purnima. And then the other place was still going on. And then ended up, we got this place. When I was first looking, we spent 3 months looking all over. Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, even like looking at places in New Hampshire, Virginia, Vermont. Wow. A lot, like online, 5-6 of our friends looking, and we traveled. We got this car from our friend, and then I put already like 4,000 miles on it in a month and a half. Oh my God. So like we've been on the road doing the beat. Right. But for one of the first towns we visited was Ellenville, and we really immediately struck us as really nice. And we saw property there, like it was about 40 acres and it was like 80 grand. And it was a gorgeous view and like, you know, undeveloped, but it was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And after we went there, we went to the next place and it was like, wow, this is great. But ultimately we came back to that town that we really liked the first time and we found a really great place of worships allowed there. It's the Pacific zoning, you know, a beautiful lake, you know, everything was like a little bigger and better, more houses, less money. So, you know, we got that and it's really felt like it, you know, every step of the way for me, it's felt like, you know, if we're doing things independently against Krishna's will or against Guru Vaishnava's will, there's no Shakti in it, there's no taste in it, there's no rasa in it. But when you're trying to serve the higher purpose, the higher will, it gives you a lot of shraddha, but it also gives you a lot of confidence that I can do this because it's the right thing and because it's for a noble cause. Right. You know, so yeah.
That's an amazing story. When, you know, in any kind of like undertaking, there's always some type of challenge that might come up. What do you feel that could be challenging in the future of your ashram, or how would you deal with it?
You want to speak, or I'll speak first, then you can talk. Yeah. There's so many challenges in life, and you know, you kind of have to expect challenges, especially in Kali Yuga. Yeah. Kali Yuga, I guess the greatest challenge is very straightforward. Kalam lati. The nature of Kali Yuga is to increase quarrel and also hypocrisy. So if we can try to remain free of quarrel and hypocrisy to the greatest of our capacity, then things would be running great. Getting a large group of people to agree on things is difficult. And that's why I firmly and deeply, honestly believe in the concept of unity and diversity. And it's again another cliche, but when you really get into it, it means that ultimately we have higher connection or a deeper connection. And so then we should celebrate our diversities, like genuinely celebrate them. And I gave the example of flowers. Like, who would want one kind of flower, one color, one smell? That'd be boring.
Yeah.
I want many colors, many fragrances, many shapes, many sizes. And that diversity is beautiful, but they're all flowers.
Yeah.
They're all united in that ultimate, you call it the substrata. So if we see that we're all connected, then we can celebrate. Oh, I do these things a little bit this way. I do I was talking with devotees from ISKCON. They were asking me like, what's different about the Gaudiya Math? I said, like, we do this. This is the same. This is the same. This is the same. It's all the same. Like 99.9%. It's all really. And then the differences are so subtle and so really they're celebratory differences. If we can accept that they're celebratory differences, we can be great friends.
Can you give an example?
I'll give an example. We were at this ISKCON house for 2 days, and they did Mangal Arti, and we said, okay, we'll do the Gurvastikam Sangsardava during Arti. And they said, no, we sing Vibhavareshasha. I said, well, and we were like, okay, we went along with it.
Right.
But, some people would say, oh, no, why are you singing Vibhavareshasha for Mangal Arti? And we said, well, like they do it in Vrindavan Krishna Balaram.
Yeah.
So it's like the differences that you perceive as a difference, Prabhupada's Samadhi place, they sing that song. And so it's not that either one is right or wrong. It's something to celebrate. People can do things in a different way without them being antagonists. I think that's really important. I think for us, that's something that we really need to set in a precedence. It needs to have the precedent set that people can do things in a different way without being antagonists. There's no reason to be there's genuine reason to be antagonists with people who are completely opposite from you, who hate your guts and who want to kill you.
Yeah.
And really, actually, no one really wants to do that. Who really wants to do that? There's evil villains in Hollywood. And, Maya obviously provides your karma in different forms, Your karma appears in different forms of various villains that, reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Okay? But, essentially, if you're talking to a Christian, you're talking to a Buddhist, we believe in being good people. We believe in some higher power. Even atheists, at the end of the day, Krishna says, I appear to them in the form of Kal. At the end of the day, when they're in the womb, they believe in God. When they die, they have to believe in God because they see the reality of the impermanence of the soul and spiritual journey. So it's we have so much connection as human beings. Why should we fight? And, we should, at the same time, that's why I say unity in diversity. We have to maintain integrity of our various individual spirits. We have to maintain our integrity.
Yeah.
But we don't have to fight over these things because we can celebrate them. That's the whole principle of diversity. Now, if we don't have the unity, then the diversity causes conflict. So you say, no, we're ISKCON, we're Gaudiya Math, you guys Bhakta Bandhav, whatever. It's ultimately we have connection and our differences are something to celebrate. If there's no unity, we're in the same mission of Mahaprabhu. Ultimately, we're in Mahaprabhu. We can all agree on Mahaprabhu, right? We all agree on Mahaprabhu. We all believe in Radha Krishna, Vrinda Devi, Tulsi prayers, Tulsi Parikrama. Some song may have a different line.
Right.
I want to hang out with you, do it your way. Come sometimes hang out with me, do it our way.
Yeah.
Hang out and be
100%.
friends.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm serious. I really strongly believe one of the difficult things will be, accepting differences and being happy about them. Not just being happy about it's Krishna gives freedom to the jivas. Krishna gives freedom. Who are we to usurp the jivas' freedom to try to force them to do something our way? That's us trying to be God. And that's the greatest violation of someone, to try to usurp their freedom and control them without their will. So, my mood is that we should be servants instead of being masters. Do the best as we can to be servants of others. Seva parama dharma. And then we can get along and have a really beautiful, loving relationship.
That's a great point. Did you want to add something?
Yeah.
One thing was that that's a great point, but when it comes to staying true to your own tradition, what would you say? Meaning our traditions are not different; they're the same. But I'm saying there's little differences, but staying true to your own Guru Parampara, Guru Varga, how would you respond to that?
So I would say that you look at our Vaishnavas give this example of the holy rivers, Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati. All of them have specialities.
Right.
When they merge in the ocean, their unique qualities aren't apparent. They become unapparent. So, you want to preserve them because that preserves culture. Culture means, who wants one thing? You go to Baskin and Robbins, there's not one flavor. There's 32 flavors. Krishna is Raso Vaishaha. Krishna is the emporium of flavors, rasa. So everyone should do their utmost best to preserve their culture and tradition. It's just straightforward. Preserve, strengthen, do your best to protect, to preserve the integrity of it, and while accepting and embracing the fact that other people should also do that. And really seriously do it, because it's ultimately everyone's duty. Like, you have a family, it's your duty to take care of your family and support your family and help your family grow. And you can look at that as a society, as an institution, as a sangha, or as an individual family. You can still have a neighbor who you get along with and have dinners with and invite over your events. They invite you to their events, and you get along. But you must preserve your integrity of your tradition. You have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just going to disappear. Like, time is the great destroyer. Kalusmi lokakshaya krit pravido. The only way to buttress against the impeding doom is to do your best to preserve Dharma. Dharma rakshita rakshita. Preserve Dharma to your utmost capacity, knowing that ultimately Krishna is the great destroyer, and Krishna is also Dharma.
Right.
So everything has its time. And ultimately, we're lucky that we're present in Sanatana Dharma, which is eternal. And it appears and disappears according to our vision, but it's eternal. So, we do our best, but ultimately it's eternal.
Yeah. There's two directions I want to go with now in the conversation, but one direction is that I notice, this is something I've been thinking about for the past few months. Maybe you saw the conversation I had with Venkatabhatta or Hridayananda Maharaj, but I notice you guys are always wearing dhotis and the saffron cloth and everything. What is your strategy for attracting people to Krishna consciousness? Is it changing anything about your dress, or about the presentation, or making it less Indian culture or less Vedic and more Western? Like, what is your, you guys are second generation devotees. This is what you grew up with. This is what you know. Same with me. This is what I know. But now that you have a ashram and now you're trying to grow, you're essentially a preaching movement now, you always were, but now really, you're out of Vrindavan, you're in the Wild West, What is your strategy?
I can say personally, it's funny. I'm just personally into tradition, like old school stuff. It's just like an easy part of that's how my mind works.
It's you.
Yeah. I know personally, yeah, I like to wear dhotis and everything in public, and it's like, this is my culture. This is like, and I think people see that and they're like, okay, he's real, and that might attract realness from them,
Totally.
But no, I do understand why people would think, oh, it'd be better to dress like Western style when you meet this, and I can understand that. But for me, it's just I'm just so hardwired to love the old school stuff. Like, for example, smartphones. I'm like, sure, I'll use them. It can help with seva. But personally, it's just like, they didn't have smartphones even a few years ago.
Yeah.
People had to use their brains, That's
How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 29.
29. Okay, yeah. We were all alive when I remember when I first got my smartphone. One devotee, I was living in Vrindavan at the time, and he had come and brought a smartphone to Vrindavan, and he was showing me. I was like, "What is this? Like, why? What do you do? And what's an app and things?" I could totally understand what you mean, but some people, their whole lives have been with internet and smartphones, and I feel like we're very blessed to actually remember times when there wasn't that, But yeah,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that's just how I naturally am.
Sure.
I like it, like, we didn't used to have this, so, I like the tradition,
Right. That's real. And I think that what you said about it would attract sincerity from other people because that's what you are. You're just being yourself, Do you feel like the same way?
I have some interesting thoughts on it. Basically, naturally, Krishna West, it's like, don't force people to be anything necessarily. You should support and encourage the tradition while also just being yourself. And in the West, it's kind of natural to wear the clothes that people naturally wear. And so
Sure.
it's almost like something that's organic. You don't have to create a dogma around it.
Right.
So let it organically happen. And at the same time, every religion has its traditional dress. It's, ancient traditional food and things like that. And that's also something that usually comes from their rich cultural history as well as their scriptures. So for us, it's like Pitambara Darashragvi Shakshan Manmanta Matmanta. It's Krishna wears a pitambar. Krishna wears, Natavar Vesh. That's Krishna. That's what Brajbasis. To say that that's a reflection or like something that's only in the material world is not true. It's deeper than. And sometimes people say like, people. The Prabhupada would say, we're not promoting Indian culture. We're not promoting India's religion. It's a worldwide thing, international society for Krishna consciousness. But we have to also at the same time recognize that it does have a background and it does have an eternal stali, an eternal place. It's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Some people were saying, call it God consciousness. Prabhupada said, no. What are the benefits spiritually from saying God compared to what, there's no sastra that says 1,000 times saying God is equal to 1 time saying Krishna. It's not there. Saying Krishna once is it destroys all pop. Why would you want people not to say that? So one thing is that it's kind of not let things go organically. And also, you should preserve the tradition. And the other is that, I guess there was some other things. I lost my train of thought a little bit, but yeah, we should embrace we shouldn't feel like vulnerable or fearful of like, this is who we are and maybe this makes us look weird. And, and people, like you said, people react to what's real if they see it's real. And ultimately, lots of people, it's kind of a fallacy in my mind that you can't be successful preaching in devotee dress.
Yeah,
okay?
agreed.
You can see great preachers who aren't even Vaishnavas or Hindus like Dandapani and in our society, in ISKCON, you look at Gorgopal, he's got millions of subscribers. A lot of his talks aren't Krishna, like they're not Krishna-centric, they're more bridging people into it where he gets more Krishna-centric and Radhanath Swami's books and things like that. So it's like, just because, I wear tilak and a dhoti and people are going to be like, I'm a freak or something. It's like, no, it's like, and if it's useful to preach, Prabhupada would say also, if it's useful to preach in a way, in a patent suit, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Like for us, particularly as brahmacharis, this is our robes. Right. And this is, the vow, this symbolizes the vow we have taken of celibacy, more than that, just of service and sacrifice to Krishna and to, Srimati Radharani, and that we're trying to offer our life 100% to them. So it's symbolic of that. And it helps, Vesh, Avesh, Samavesh. If you're in the proper Vesh, helps your absorption, Avesh, and that helps, it also creates an environment that's favorable. But ultimately, it's like, let people be people, and there's no need to create more and more dogmas around, like, okay, anti-Indian. Like, we should have, like, in our Radhakunj, we have prasad, sometimes we'll have pasta for breakfast, sometimes we'll have khichdi for breakfast, sometimes we'll have idli and sambar. It's like, it's all beautiful, it's all good. But, there is an inherent beyond Vedic Braj quality. What is the nature of Braj? What is the nature of Svetadweep, Navadweep? Right. What is Mahaprabhu dressed like? Mahaprabhu doesn't dress in pants and jeans. One time they tried to do that in Banki Bihari. Right. And there was a huge furor over it, and for good cause. Krishna doesn't wear Levi's. I don't even know what they're called. Levi's? Levi's.
The fact that you don't know that is so awesome. I love that. Yeah, Levi's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I got a bit of a cramp in my leg. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so is that your? So then for this ashram, you're just presenting yourself as you.
Well, not only that, but it's just there's going to be lots of people who come, and a lot of people preach from pants and shirts. Like a lot of people may come and use that place to, we'll have interfaith stuff, So we're not saying you have to do it one way. Yeah. Someone who's in Krishna West can come and preach. Go for it. Like, we want to sit and discourse and discuss and have a friendly mood towards everyone. And again, we preserve our traditions, but we can also discuss and debate and, discourse, and those things are good.
Right. Now, I want to kind of change gears and talk a little bit about a sensitive topic, but not so sensitive. I mean, we're all, I feel like we can make some, clarifications on things. So I grew up in the 90s. You guys all grew up in the 90s as well. Now, why was there so much friction between ISKCON and your Guru Maharaj's group? This is unprecedented right now, what we're doing. We're discussing this as devotees, as friends. I mean, I respect you guys so much. And something that you said on the phone to me the other day that really, your whole mood about inclusion and just like brotherhood when it comes to Krishna, even though we're from different societies, this kind of, how to say it, this kind of like inclusion and kind of like open talking. I think this is like super revolutionary. And so with that, I just want to, open it up to you to kind of like clarify. I mean, you don't take it as like a that's pressure or anything,
let's address it. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, go for it.
Preview it much.
Preclude
it more.
Yes.
There's a multifaceted answer and there's multivariate analysis.
Sure.
Okay, you give a univariate answer and it's it becomes it doesn't show the whole picture. So we don't want to show a few pixels that show the full picture.
Right.
But that's obviously something that takes time and detail.
Right.
It's easier to show a snapshot from a distance. But
right.
There's a few things to say about that. I would say that bridges versus walls. Basically it's hard not to speak from our perspective.
I want you to speak 100% from your perspective and speak honestly and don't feel like you're going to offend anyone.
I'm not offending anyone. I'm just saying if you look at the actual history, it was clear that our Srila Gurudev and Prabhupada were very close friends.
Right.
A lot of the letters were lost, whether purposely or not. A lot of the letters were lost. There was a long history of interchange of letters between Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. And, when Prabhupada was in Mathura, they brought him specifically, Gurudev and our Gurudev, like, oh, he's in Vrindavan, he's in Mathura, the Holy Gali. They went and said, no, you have to come and stay in our ashram. They were brothers. When we started the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti in the 40s, he was a founding member.
Prabhupada was?
Yes, the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti in the 40s, there were 4 founding members. Prabhupada was one. He was the chief editor of the Bengali magazine and the Hindi magazine. And then, and it was his mission by Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada to go and to preach and, revolutionize preaching in the West, the whole world, which he did. And during that time, because now I'll say from what I've learned and what I believe also is that Prabhupada was right from his side to put a wall up between some Gaudiya Mat, and ISKCON. He needed to.
Right.
The Western devotees were new, and they needed a central figure. You need a central figure who is your spiritual authority, so everything is not confusing, because everyone has different ways. And so starting something new, you can't have 20 founders, because every one of them is going to have a speciality and a special way of doing things.
Right.
Prabhupada needed to do that. On top of that, not all of the Gaudiya Mat was favorable to Prabhupada, because there was a revolutionary thing about Prabhupada, which is something awesome. Like, we really love Prabhupada for how he was, and simple things. And actually our Gurudev, it's another sensitive topic, but he was part of this Vedanta Samiti Society as the vice president for 60 years. And then because he was allowing women more roles, they kicked him out as a board, and made many complaints. As the more, I don't want to use the word patriarchal, because I ultimately we believe in Krishna as the supreme patriarch, and Srimati Radhika as the supreme, force, Shakti. So, but there was resistance against our Gurudev also. So with Prabhupada, he was doing some things which would be considered a little bit more, it's not even that it's heterodox, it's orthodox, but he's just he's adapting and bringing everyone in. Like Mahaprabhu, if you look at Mahaprabhu brought everyone in. He would say, Chandale Brahmane Kole Kadatale, everyone should be part of this. Je Baje She Bara Bhaktahina Char, whoever has the most devotion, they are the guru, they are the master who should be regarded. Raghunandan, Mahaprabhu asked, who is your father? I think, what's this?
Raghunath Thakur and Mukunda Datta.
Yeah, who is the father? He said, no, my son is the father, because look how much love he has for Gopinath. So the mood of Mahaprabhu is always celebrate whoever has great devotion for Krishna without distinction of caste and creed. Sometimes, when Prabhupada would bring his new Western disciples, certain Gaudiya Mat acharyas wouldn't take their prasad that they cooked.
Right.
So these things these devotees are babies. You have to love and care and foster and help nourish and develop. And if I'm not going to, you touched it, you're Malecha. How's that going to help build up, people's confidence in Krishna consciousness from a foreigner perspective?
Right.
So that's why I'm saying from Prabhupada was the one who said initially that, you should limit your connection with the Gaudiya Math. Now, he did say also before he departed, entered Nitya Lila, that now, the war is over kind of thing. And so he said there should be more of a interchange of ideas and of connections. And at the same time, Prabhupada did. Now, that's one angle. The other side is that Prabhupada, when he was preaching, he requested again and again, this should be a branch of the Gaudiya Math. He requested many different preachers to come. Our Srila Gurudev requested to come, different preachers. Everyone is ultimately, strapped and busy trying to maintaining their different organizations and societies. So, it wasn't possible to happen. But ultimately, Prabhupada, he created he was the founder Acharya of his society. So there's two things. One of the sensitivities from ISKCON's side is that there's not a proper appreciation from the Gaudiya Math for Prabhupada's position as founder Acharya of ISKCON. That's one of the things. There's not a proper appreciation that Srila Prabhupada is the founder of ISKCON, and what he did was such an amazing service to Sri Krishna that, it was, there's I'll give you a great example. Prabhupada, there's a story of Prabhupada when I think someone was saying like, oh, well, you've done this and so many people could have done this. And Prabhupada gave the example of, I think it's a Columbus story, but basically, I don't know the whole story, but basically there's a story of like someone said like, take an egg and put it on the top of the roof and make it stay, something like that.
I think I might have heard that.
I probably haven't heard this for 20 years.
Stand it up on the table.
Stand it up on the table.
Yeah.
But I think it was the top of the roof or something. And so he cracked it and they stood it there. So he said, anyone could have done that. No, but that person did it.
Right.
and that's a silly example, but what Prabhupada did was genuinely, and I'm not saying this because you're in ISKCON, I'm trying to impress you or any of your followers. Like this is a misunderstanding from ISKCON's side towards the Gaudiya Math that maybe like there's another angle that why I see ISKCON feels like the Gaudiya Math is like they try to leech off ISKCON devotees.
Right.
Okay. And so it's like, ISKCON do the groundwork and then we'll just kind of pluck the when the fruits are ripe, we'll pluck them.
Right.
So that's obviously something that's going to be hurtful. And I genuinely think that shouldn't be done. And, we've been meeting different ISKCON devotees and it's like, wow, what you're doing is amazing. We love you guys. Just like, you guys are our big brothers. Really. Like for us, second generation devotee, we grew up in ISKCON community and now we're kind of like serving our Gurudev and we became connected to him. There's a misunderstanding from ISKCON's side that our Gurudev didn't really have a deep relation with Prabhupada. It was a tactic. I was at our Radha Kunj ashram and I overheard, everyone's sitting taking prasadam.
Yeah.
And they're waiting actually the stairs and they're talking, oh, they just use Prabhupada. They just have a Prabhupada Murti because they want to use Prabhupada to show and attract. It's like,
they were saying that in the...
Waiting for prasadam.
Oh my God.
In the stairs. And, I was walking by and I heard them talking about that in like a heated way.
Yeah.
So it's like the misunderstanding from ISKCON's side is that, and there's different areas of Gaudiya Math, different sanghas, but like from our side specifically with Gurudev, there's zero question about our relation to Prabhupada and our love for Prabhupada because, for example, his parents are Prabhupada disciples. The Maharaj who just came to our property, Prabhupada disciple. Most of the Maharaj's Prabhupada disciples. We are in that line of Prabhupada. Yeah. There's no question that Prabhupada is in our Guru Parampara. Now, that's a whole question about Shiksha versus Diksha. Bhagavat Parampara includes Shiksha and Diksha. So, Prabhupada can be your Diksha Guru, he can be your Shiksha Guru. Now, obviously, we're not saying he's like a Param Shiksha Guru or something, but, Krishna is Shiksha Guru, Mahaprabhu is Shiksha Guru, the scripture is the Guru also, through the Vani. So the point is that Prabhupada is genuinely part of what we are. And that's why we're establishing a Prabhupada Murti at our center. Right. And if people were saying, oh, you're trying to do Prabhupada Murti to attract ISKCON people, it's like, you can think that, but I genuinely have such a deep connection to Prabhupada. We go to Prabhupada's Samadhi all the time in Vrindavan and pray to Prabhupada and genuinely have such a deep love and relation with Prabhupada. So there's different Gaudiya Math sanghas. And I will say that Prabhupada did what was necessary because Prabhupada's Guru. Guru does what's right under Krishna's direction. Otherwise, he's not a genuine, pure Guru. So what Prabhupada did was necessary, and that was something that happened. Prabhupada did for a reason. With our Srila Gurudev specifically, before he departed, he would come back and forth every day to Vrindavan. Prabhupada would bring him, this is in the record, he would send a taxi and Gurudev would come and Akinchan, another Maharaj would come and do treatment for Prabhupada and they would speak and they would have very deep connection. And Prabhupada asked him specifically to help take care of his disciples. So our Gurudev, if people say our Gurudev just came and tried to leech ISKCON devotees, our Gurudev followed what he says, my Shiksha Guru and Priya Bandhu, my Shiksha Guru and dear friend. He said he followed his Shiksha Guru's instruction, which was to nourish and take care of his devotees. And Gurudev never wanted to be the Acharya. ISKCON devotees at some point, offered him to be a guru in ISKCON, and he declined because, there's other sensitive kind of doctrinal issues about the jiva and things like that, which ultimately, okay, that's a great discussion.
Right.
But, maybe a can of worms that.
Yeah, totally.
So we don't run too late. But really, like, yeah, that was like a sound
No,
effect.
no.
That was a sound effect moment. Can of worms sound effects.
No, not that one. No.
Okay.
I guess that one.
Anyway, that goes back to the Unity University thing. But
Yeah,
basically, our Srila Gurudev had a very deep connection to Prabhupada. Our Param Gurudev gave Prabhupada sannyas. They were very close.
Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj.
When he left, Prabhupada was in Seattle. Prabhupada had everyone write a letter signing, to offer, their prayers and their condolence.
Wow.
And Prabhupada, the people who were there said Prabhupada was weeping inconsolably.
Wow.
That his sannyas guru had left. And I think the thing is that with real Vaishnavas, it's more than a formality of initiation. It's a spiritual connection. So with our Gurudev and Prabhupada, that spiritual connection is shown in their letters that still do exist. And people who say there wasn't a bunch more letters, I know specifically the person who found a huge, because Satsvarup Maharaj was looking for the letters to write his Prabhupada Lilamrita.
Right.
And the devotees found it for him, and it was a bundle, probably 200 or so.
Yeah.
They were all lost. And, a lot of the time from our side, those were, subdued, the ones that were there. And now some of them have been included in the Vedabase, Bhaktivedanta Vedabase. So there is a relation. And Prabhupada said we have a spiritual relationship based on, spiritual, like love. I forget the exact words, but it's there. You can find it. And so they have that spiritual connection. They're ultimately all in that spiritual family of Krishna. They're all associates of Krishna. We have that faith that there is Sadguru. Mahaprabhu always said, understand the difference between Mukta and Baddha, Falgu and Yukta. Pure liberated soul and conditioned soul, and appropriate renunciation and false renunciation.
Yeah.
Mahaprabhu gave those instructions. So someone who's like a liberated soul, if they're in the same sampradaya, they will have some kind of spiritual connection. And once you get into sampradayic topics, it's like in the spiritual world, there's Svapaksha groups, Vipaksha groups, Vajatiya groups, Vijatiya groups. I would say it's undeniable that our Prabhupada and our Gurudev are Svapaksha groups. They're Svajatiya. That means there's a spiritual, transcendental, eternal relationship.
Right.
Wonderful. And, that's just a few minutes on it. We could talk more, but I think going forward, I think there was a talk between our Gurudev and many ISKCON leaders in Los Angeles back in the early 2000s. From our side, I didn't give our perspective as much as well. Our Gurudev was banned from all ISKCON centers in 94. And, when he would come to the West, some people would let him see, but they wouldn't let him, see the deities in some places. Our Gurudev was very genuinely hurt. He said at one place that, you can let a Hollywood star come, a starlet come, with questionable, character and things like that. Not with everyone, but certain,
Of course, yeah.
And he said, but I'm not allowed to come to take the foot dust of Prabhupada. And he said, he said that I've come to America specifically to take the foot dust of Prabhupada. He said, I've come here because Prabhupada called me here, Mahaprabhu called me here, and I'm serving him. And so he was very hurt that he wasn't, welcome. And it wasn't that he hadn't helped and trained many of the senior leadership in ISKCON for many years, from the 70s forward, from the 80s, into the early 90s. And then, certain things, and ultimately, okay, I'll say this because it's a good topic and it's something that will be useful to devotees, I think.
I think so.
So I would say this also, again, going back to the other side. I'm trying to play both sides here a bit.
Sure. Not
play both sides, but give some kind of multivariate analysis.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are followers of Srila Gurudev were very rude and acted inappropriately towards senior ISKCON leadership. Like, oh, who are you? Demeaning them as if they were not Prabhupada's representatives. Not as if they were not, but like not properly respecting and honoring someone in a position of respect and honor. Right. Mahaprabhu said, Jive Samandive Jani Krishna Adhistan. Honor all living entities. But specifically, like a learned person or a respectable person, a guru figure, if you don't honor them properly, that's dishonor, that's anadar. And it's something that is hurtful to your own spiritual life, and it causes division. And so, from that side, it's like they, act respectfully towards everyone. And, from the other side, they felt like, okay, they didn't properly accept our Gurudev. And, that led to different things. When it was banned, then it became like a policy. And even to this day, I mean, it's like, even with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, it's like, okay, it's okay to quote him, but it's not okay to quote Srila Narayan Maharaj.
Right.
Why? What's the big deal? They all read his books. Most people, and it used to be like a stigma. Oh, like you have to hide the book. Nowadays you can, it's an ebook, so it's easy to hide. But like, what's wrong with Venu Geet? Most of his books, and I'll say this is important. Most of his books are translations of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's unquestionable. Sometimes he gives Bhavanuvad and he gives commentary and things like that. But but it's essentially Gaudiya Vaishnava scripture. And, you know, you can say that it's not for a neophyte, perhaps, but intermediate, definitely. And some definitely also for neophytes. Like, you know, everyone should take part of the rich culture of Gaudiya Vaishnava literature. The Mahaprabhu specifically sent the Goswamis to establish Vigraha, to establish the holy places of Radha Krishna, to establish Vigraha, and to establish Vaishnava Maryada, etiquette, rules and regulations, things like that. So if we were to say that we can't read the Goswamis' literature at any point in our spiritual evolution, okay, you can say that now you're in your primary class. Now, if we're to say that we can never read the Goswami literature, why did Mahaprabhu send them to write those books? And why did they do them if they're like forbidden? And Mahaprabhu said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Prabhupada writes about this, that, you know, there's the story of the buried treasure. And, you know, you have to have the guru figure tell you where the buried treasure is. And go to the south, go to the north, go to the west. It's in the east, and there's where you find it. This is how you get it. So that buried treasure for us is our Gaudiya Vaishnava literature. And so our Gurudev would present that literature, and people would be like, no, you can't read that. It's, you know, something like something or other. But so, you know, there's still a bit of a stigma. And I think gradually we can break that down without, now this is the doubt, oh, they're going to try and steal. Or look, if we can make more brahmacharis, like when the devotees come to our Radha Kunj from ISKCON, it's like, okay, who should I take initiation from? Go to Radhanath Swami, go to Indradun Maharaj. Like, seriously, genuinely, we send people to other, you know, and it's like,
really?
What's the big, like, if they perhaps come from Mumbai or come from Vrindavan, perhaps from ISKCON, and say, oh, I want to stay some time and train up, where should I take initiation from? Go there. There's no like mood of weird like competition. It's like, you know, Krishna sends everyone to who they're meant to be with, and we should try to foster and nourish that. So I think if we kind of clear up that a bit and ultimately have this mood, I'd say, you know, and I don't want to go on too long, but it's a
no, please,
question.
this is great.
And we can perhaps go back and forth more, but
yeah, no, this is
our
good.
mood is this, okay? Yeah. As what we're doing here, we're not, you know, we're saying that we're Gaudiya Mat. Gaudiya Mat, established by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. It's like our spiritual father figure as a Sangha society. Ultimately, what we are, in essence, is connected to that because it's the parent and the child have, you know, a very deep connection.
Yes.
Umbilical cord connection between the son and the mother, or the daughter and the mother, or even the father. So the point is that, you know, like you look at Krishna and Brahma, for example, you know, there's a deep connection. And with ISKCON also, because, you know, with ISKCON Gaudiya Mat politics, I feel like sometimes ISKCON, the Gaudiya Mat will have like a superiority mood, like we know how to do it exactly the ancient way. And then, you know, ISKCON obviously bigger, more successful. So they have their, you know, strong cards. So there's kind of this game going on.
Yeah.
And we don't want to participate in that game. You know, what we're doing is, how I feel is that Gaudiya Mat is like our father, ISKCON is like our big brother, and we're like the little baby. And so we want to see the big brother to be successful, the father to be successful, and also to have a friendly family association. Like we should be having a mood of ultimately being family, ultimately being associates, you know, associated, affiliated, and then we can have, okay, I would say if there's a little bit of cross-pollination, what's the harm?
Right.
If there's a little bit of cross-pollination, what's the harm?
Yeah.
And the danger of not having a wall, of having bridges, is cross-pollination. The societies that become too wall-centric ultimately wither and die.
Yes.
You can look at, in the course of society, everyone who limits export-import perishes. So we're afraid of cross-pollination between societies because, oh, he came from ISKCON, then he's initiated by a Gaudiya Mat guru. Or I was training up this person, then he became initiated from that person. Okay, Krishna is the controller. Krishna is the guru. I'm not the guru. Krishna is the controller and guru, and we're just the servants. And so if there's a bit of cross-pollination, that's life.
I feel like the lines in the future will become more blurred. Like the divisions will be less. Just from like what we're doing, like, but I think the lines and the divisions were a lot more in the previous generation. Just, I guess, because it was more fresh and there was a lot of misunderstandings like you're mentioning. And I mean, I wanted to ask you something, but I forgot what it was. Do you want to add something? No?
I want to hear from you.
Okay. What else did I want to say?
It's such a like difficult, deep question that it's kind of like, okay, let's stop that and move on to something else. But
no. I think we should continue. But
yeah, let's dig deeper into it. You know.
Right before you said blurred lines, we're gonna blur the lines.
Yeah, we're gonna. But before that, I had another thought. what I wanted to say, I mean, I'm just digesting what you're saying because it's profound, and it's a lot of things that I mean, I've heard before, but to hear it from you, so to say, from the horse's mouth, like, no, I'm not calling you a horse, but it's a saying we have in America. To hear that,
All right, I'm leaving.
to hear that is really, it's really, it's. I think it brings a lot of hope for me personally to hear all that, but I don't remember what I had to say about it. But
I'll just continue. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I think if you genuinely have a love for people, then all these things will work themselves out. If you have doubt, mistrust, hate, or fear towards people, then, you know, the defenses go up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
You know, and taking your defenses down makes you vulnerable, but it also makes you stronger and learn more. So, you know, we put up our defenses too quickly sometimes. And, you know, sometimes, you know, look at a mother and a child. If the mother kept the child in the bubble the whole life, they'd remain very weak and more vulnerable. As soon as they're exposed to real life, you know, they can just finished. Yeah. So I would say that. And I would say, you know, genuinely have affection for people. I genuinely feel affection for people. I don't care if they eat meat. Like, they're learning, they're growing.
Right.
Why should you hate someone because, like, do you hate a tiger? I think tigers are awesome. Who cares if they eat meat? Like, okay, ultimately it's not the highest evolutionary stage,
right,
spirituality, but ultimately it's like, that doesn't make them a bad person.
Right.
And so, you know, we should...
Prabhu, one sec. I hate to ask you to do something, Prabhu. Can you close that door? Yeah, no. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think if we genuinely have a mood of affection towards people, then
Right.
not only can we preach better, because people are smart, people are intuitive. So if they know that you're just preaching down to them, trying to convert them, trying to make you like them, it becomes like a Borg mentality. We are the Borg, you will be assimilated, resistance is futile.
Right.
No one wants that. No one wants to be... Krishna doesn't want you to love him by force. Krishna doesn't want you to love him by force. Krishna wants you to love him. And therefore he gives you a free world to have free reign in. And if you decide to love him, you can go to his abode. I don't like when people are like, you have to follow Krishna consciousness, you'll go to hell if you don't. That's a lot of the problems with Christianity and other religions, like my way or the highway, and otherwise you're damned forever. And so it's like, I believe in, you know, what I call the loving reality. It's something that Krishna really genuinely loves you. Genuinely loves you as a father, as Krishna, Tumeva Mata, Tumeva Pita, Tumeva Bandhu, Tumeva Saka. Krishna genuinely loves you. And he's genuinely compassionate, Bhakta Vatsalya, genuinely Dina Vatsala. So that being said, you know, we are put in a situation in this world to have free reign. And we have Krishna gives us the independence to do what we like. Ultimately, you know, if we, you know, come to the highest understanding, we can approach him in a loving way and make a loving relationship, go to his spiritual dham. In the meantime, you know, this world is our, you know, look at the Bible or look at the Gita. Krishna says, Saha yagya praja, like, do yagya and flourish. Krishna says, do yagya and flourish. You know, if you look at the biblical tradition, you know, serve God and be custodians of the earth. So this is a place where, you know, and having that responsibility from God to be caretakers rather than, and this goes something deeper, I think. If we understand that we are not the masters, and if we try to eliminate that master consciousness and develop the servant consciousness, there'll be a lot less fighting. A lot of the master complex comes from ego and desire to control. And if we can gradually, you know, erode that at the edges, gradually, you know, rust away at it, you know, eat away at it, then, you know, we become in the mood of a servant of Sri Krishna and try to be a caretaker and a provider and a supporter of others. Like, you know, for example, what I'm trying to do, not in essence what I'm trying to do, but what is essentially reality. And, you know, you can look at reality in a way that it's a place where it's just a fight for survival and survival of the fittest and, you know, dog eat dog worlds.
Yeah.
Rat race. And that, if you want to live in that reality, you can. And that is a facet of reality. But ultimately, my understanding is that Sri Krishna is the loving reality. He loves us. This is a place where we get to exhibit our free will and ultimately come to a loving relationship with him. We are not the controllers of anything. We are controlled by karma. We are controlled by the three modes of nature. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvata hankar vimudatma karta hamiti manyate. I am the doer. That's my ego. That's my false ego. And so if we think that, like, for example, institutionally, this is Sri Krishna's proprietary property. It's his intellectual property.
Yeah.
And it's Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudevs. They are the progenitors of this. And we are just the humble servants, because as soon as we start getting the master complex around a sangha, around an institution, then it becomes, a mirror of us and are trying to will our, will to power over it, like Nietzsche talks about. So I firmly believe that if we have this mood, even like as an organization, this goes into a very deep topic we've talked about a long time. At the top of the hierarchy of the organization should be a very rock solid conception that this is a transcendental entity. There is a material, substance that is, what is holding Dharma Rakshita, holding tradition. There's an organization. There are board of directors. There's GBC. There has to be that. Prabhupada set that up. Without that, there's just anarchy, and that means there's no order and things can't prosper. There's the balance between order and chaos, the Tao.
Right.
You need to have order. You need to have freedom. The order should support creativity. The order creates a playing field where people can, walk down the street without being too afraid of, just being destroyed or something crazy happening. So the order supports creativity when it's proper. But, ultimately, Krishna gives freedom. We should provide freedom to people. We shouldn't try to overtly control them with rules and regulations. Instead, try to serve them with love and affection. Automatically, they'll be controlled. That's the secret. Like, how does a mother control the household? She's the mom. She loves you. She cooks for you. She takes care of you. She's the boss. Mom's the boss of the household. If your dad doesn't love you, you're going to rebel against him.
Right.
So serve with love, everybody, love and affection, and try to erode that egoic tendency to try to be the master and the dominator. At the same time, we have to take decisions. We have to take leadership responsibility. But at the top of the pyramid of the hierarchy of the institution or whatever it may be, always understand that Sri Krishna is the supreme proprietor. Ishavasyamidam sarvam. We're just the caretakers. As soon as we start thinking I'm the boss, it's my thing, my way or the highway, things are going to immediately start to become gradually, incrementally corrupted.
I hear a lot of broad-mindedness and maturity in what you're saying. Where did that come from?
Just witnessing.
Because
fighting.
not everyone
Witnessing
speaks
fighting.
like this.
What's that? Witnessing fighting.
Really?
Witnessing conflict.
Like within
division, within just everywhere.
Right.
Look around.
Yeah.
There's a thing to like. I think being a member of a team is a good thing because it gives you something to be. You're part of something.
Right.
It's good. But at the end of the game, you shake hands and you love each other.
Yeah.
So competition. I believe in competition. Competition is a good thing. I believe in free market. And if you want to get into the details, there's a balanced perspective around that.
Yeah.
But essentially, people should have a freedom to thrive.
Right.
And they should feel an enthusiasm in competition without hating your opponent, essentially, because they're not your opponent. You're playing a game together. We're playing a game together in this world. It's a leela, it's a sport. So, someone takes the role of antagonist, protagonist, but it's still ultimately a sport. And I think the maturity comes just from, deep, who knows, but I try to live in a way that you can see beyond those superficial tendencies to divide and conquer, because ultimately it is a bit of a divide and conquer game. These are the bad guys. We're the good guys. Come to our team and listen about these guys. They do this, they do this, they do this. They're full of this. They're that. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Who really knows? Not only who really knows, like they say, you can believe something 99.9%, but you believe something 100% absolutely, you're fanatical. You should believe something absolutely, but like ultimately, don't let it make you fanatical. And at the same time, just ultimately, what I guess I'll just stop it at this. If you truly believe in your faith, if you have faith in something, go all the way, go all in the sense that look at it deeply and what it really means. Don't look at just the superficial part of it. Like, this is our institution. It was founded this time. This is what, this is our founder, our guru. And he taught about this guy called Krishna who, who knows who he is, if he even existed, or like Jesus, he didn't even exist. Like, really, if you're going to be part of it, try to adopt it fully. And then read the scriptures. Krishna says, Isa Vashamidam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatam Jagat. Anything you see, everything you see, that's Krishna's. It's not mine. And therefore I can serve it. Don't be the master. You have to be a master in your house. You have to be a master at the same time, but
right.
You have a master.
Playing devil's advocate, someone who's hearing what you're saying could say that what it could turn into is some kind of kitchery.
Yeah.
you're being too broad-minded.
Yeah. Yeah. So
What would
that's
you
why I said
what would you
before,
say to
Dharma
that?
Rakshita Rakshita.
Right.
I'm not saying that's. I was having a conversation with this, and it was a good fun, like a good friend, but an argument from his side.
Right. Oh, I
And
love
it was
those.
like, it was like, no, it all has to be one, basically. And
What
that's
has to be,
Mayavad.
what has to be one?
All the sanghas have to be one.
Oh, right.
No
You have to
differences.
water everything down to a point where everything can be the same.
Right.
Like
So it's a Mayavad tendency, and usually it's based on desire for harmony. Everything, if everything was one, we believe things would be harmonious.
Right.
But ultimately, I don't believe in oneness, Mayavad, or communism, or anything like that. The idea, because at that point, things become homogenous and bland and boring. And Krishna likes variety. Krishna likes rasa. Variety is the spice of life. So basically, if you believe that everyone should thrive, it would be boring if everything was the same. So as soon as we understand that, then things should be different, and we should also have our thing, because otherwise it would all become one.
Right.
So, and then I segued into, like, the guy was like, well, where's the scriptural background for that? I was like, have you heard of something called the Chinta Beta Beta Tattva?
Right.
It's called like the precept, the teaching of Mahaprabhu. It's the tattva, the truth, not the vad, the theory.
Yeah.
The tattva is
Tattva.
that it's simultaneously one and different, and to a material mind, it's inconceivable. But ultimately, achintya guna swarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami.
Yummy.
Krishna Govinda is achintya, but when you have premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena, when you have the eyes anointed with the salve of love, you'll see that he is Shamasundar, very beautiful and very sweet, and he is Adi Purush. So basically, we're saying everything's broad-minded. It is broad-minded, but I'm not saying break down all the walls and have no walls. I'm saying have them also, but also have bridges. Have them both.
Right.
Have it both. Have your integrity, protect your culture, specific tradition, while also allowing everyone to you don't have to feel threatened when other people thrive, because if there was only one car brand, it'd be boring. If there's only one type of ice cream, it'd be boring. Only one type of people, it'd be boring. There's a lot of different things, and that's because God wills it that way. And so trying to homogenize it all makes it lose its essential quality that Krishna has given it. Krishna, and through time, things change. Sometimes everything is more similar. Sometimes things are more different. But ultimately, Krishna is the boss. Krishna is doing things how he wants. We're not the doers. So even the conflict is Krishna's will. Kali Mars is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Fighting tendency, that's manifestation of Krishna's energy. I was talking to one senior Prabhupada disciple just a couple of days ago. It was really cool. I was saying that, we're talking about COVID and politics and things like that. And they were bringing it all up. And I was saying, look, my response to the whole political thing and the COVID thing is like, the darker the night, the more beautiful the stars and the moon. So the darkness of Kali Yuga is a beautiful setting for Gaura Chandra. It's a beautiful setting for the golden moon of Mahaprabhu.
Do you think that there is a way to repair the relationship between ISKCON and your Gurudev Sangha?
Certainly. It's going to be done by the youth and also by the mature senior devotees, and it is also already occurring. It's natural. It's a natural evolution, and I think it will come together. Look, Mahaprabhu said, Prithiviti ache jata nagaradi gram sarvatra prachar hoibe moranam. It's a big task to accomplish.
It is.
Every town and village. There should be a center, ISKCON center in every town and village. I would be overjoyed if there was an ISKCON center in every town and village.
Yeah.
I would be overjoyed. I want to see Prabhupada everywhere. Everywhere I go, I want to have a Govinda's restaurant, because then, we'll take Prasad to Govinda's restaurant and they'll give us some free Prasad sometimes too, Great. And ISKCON should also feel, look, if ISKCON does their job really well, I'll also support that as much as I can. I'll send people as much as I can, as long as I live. We'll do our best. But then also it should be that, look, we want you to succeed. What's the problem if we also have some temples? And sometimes your devotees come for our program and we do things a little different. Sometimes we come to your program, we do little things different. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Abundance mentality, win-win mentality. Don't be stuck down in this narrow conscience like we have enough. We have more seva to do to Mahaprabhu.
Yes.
We have to serve more. And so we need to work really hard more. And if everyone has this in spirit of enthusiasm, like in the time of Prabhupada, our Gurudev would say, serve like in the time of Prabhupada. This is my pet beef. I'm deeply annoyed by complacency and by, there's so many, basically the idea of semblance or something, just basically like, oh, why should we do anything? What's the point?
Yeah.
It's like, no, we should be very enthusiastic. It's a wonderful thing we're part of. We should be very confident. This is Mahaprabhu's Dharma, Krishna. This is the essence of everything. This is the absolute truth. We should serve it enthusiastically. And if we do that, we can all succeed. We can all succeed. It takes a lot of, like Krishna looks, who is willing to serve me? And I will empower them. So,
Wonderful. Wow. How old are you again?
33.
Wow. Amazing. I'm just kind of speechless by what you're saying. It's very nice. Very, very, and when I try to kind of like ask questions about more like mundane things about, what you're saying makes it seem like kind of silly.
Yeah, the thing, it's too broad-minded. It's like, it's reality. It is reality. Like, literally, okay. That's why I said have faith in your faith. Read the Bhagavatam and believe it. See what happens if you believe it. Krishna says that if you have Shraddha gives you the power to like advance.
Right.
Like without Shraddha, you can't do anything. Like if you go to school, if you challenge everything, you don't believe anything, you don't like okay, you can use your questioning spirit, jigyasu, inquire, but ultimately have guidance. And so the point is basically read the Bhagavatam. All the universes are floating in and out of the pores of Mahavishnu every time he breathes. Okay, so the entire cosmic manifestation exists for one breath of Mahavishnu. And what is our time capsule that we're in right now in relation to that cosmic breath? In relation to Brahma's cosmic breath or Indra's breath? So much time is elapsing, we're dead. What are we trying to control? Meaning serve to your best capacity, protect the Dharma, promote the Dharma, proselytize the Dharma, without trying to be the boss, the master of it, in the sense of have that service mood. But at the same time, it's like, understand your insignificance. When I was young, I would write poetry and and submit it. And I was like, if we can understand our insignificance, and it's again, understanding of reality. I am insignificant. It's not like a understanding. It's a realization of the truth. I'm insignificant. We're all insignificant. We're going to be forgotten before Brahma blinks an eye. This world is going to be forgotten. Like, really, like Bhumi Devi will continue, but like civilizations rise and fall.
Right.
And they become lost in the dust. Everyone significant is forgotten. We can't be significant. We can do our best to serve. And, we try to be significant. Everyone has that kind of thing. I want to be significant. Everyone wants to be, okay, let's be realistic also. I don't want to be too airy-fairy and like, I'm like a saint or something. No, people want to do their thing. But at the same time, at the top of that, just understand that this is something very broad, very great, eternal. It's an eternal dharma, sanatan dharma. There's nothing we can control over it.
Something I'm hearing a lot from when you both speak is a lot of faith. And for someone like myself, who also grew up as a devotee, and also my peers who are also devotees living in the West, and then also, I have my own children. I have 2 sons, and I want them to grow up and be devotees. What would you say to like peers like me who are growing up in the West? They have jobs, they have families. They're trying to hold on to a shred of Krishna consciousness, but it's as you know, it's so difficult here. It's like the Maya is like really holding you down as much as you try to be a devotee, and it's like a struggle daily. What tips or what instructions or what can you give to people like me?
In California in 2016, when I came back for our visa, it was after 10 years of having been in America, and someone was talking to me about basically this thing, and I said, like, look, you're a devotee. At your heart, you're a devotee. So don't overly restrain your senses. I'm trying to say like sense and joy, but I'm just saying like you're a devotee. And so like, okay, you watch a YouTube video once in a while that's like a stupid joke or something, or like you do a little bit of Maya. If you try to overly restrict people from that, it backfires.
What can repression accomplish?
Yeah, so I'm just saying like, okay, say you like basketball or you like football. It's like, yeah, I like those things too. They're cool. Like, I'm not trying to, it's a balance because we have to be Krishna conscious and we try to become more and more Krishna conscious. Prabhupada would say, if you're 50% Krishna conscious, you're 50% Mahaprabhu conscious. And we try to be 60-40 and 70-30 and 80-20. But you have to be honest with where you're at and who you are. And I read I think it was one of the first European disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta that like really, and he was, I won't, again, too many names, but he talked about that. He said, spiritual life, you can really advance if you're honest with where you're at. Don't try to be who you're not. And with your children also, if you try to force your children to be true Krishna conscious, it'll backfire. But at the same time, just teach them how cool it is. And that's part of what we want to do in the ashram. Part of the reason I want to do an ashram outside of the city is that people come there for multiple days, and we have facility where they can host them, and we can just have a good time. Kirtan is fun, right?
Yeah.
Like you get a big kirtan, dancing, ecstatic.
Wonderful.
It's ecstatic.
Yes.
You know, and you have great prasadam, you know, community get-togethers, great festivals all the time. Like who puts on a better party than devotees?
Yeah.
Devotees put on a great party. So really, bhakti is nice. Bhakti is fun. Bhakti is cool. Bhakti is great. At the same time, you know, don't try to become like, you know, we don't want to become like, you know, like not the Mormons, but in Pennsylvania, the Amish.
Amish, yeah.
Okay, we're not going to drive a car. You know, or like you look at the ancient scriptures, a sannyasi crosses over the river or something and they fall down from, it's like, if you try to, you know, we have to also adapt and evolve with tendencies in society and like social media and things like that. It's like, okay, it's okay. Like if in our core of core, we realize I love Krishna and then I'm working it out. And then it's like, I think people would be more into it if they weren't as much forced to be like, you got to do this.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
I think obviously what he's saying is not everyone should watch a little bit of YouTube. He's saying you should not let oppression make a negative effect. Meaning, I'll give an example. In my life, I just had a conversation with someone, and I realized in the middle of the conversation, he thinks that I'm a brahmachari with my dhoti, red cloth in public and everything, because my parents were strict devotees and they like trained me.
Right.
And that's really not what it was. I had full freedom to question anything whenever.
What was it?
What was it that kept me going?
Yeah, what was it that made you dedicate your life?
I'm not saying I'm an expert at this, but I think the only thing I want to say is association. I mean,
right.
I have people, and they do not want to be named. These
of course.
Vaishnavas that like specifically told me don't mention my name.
Right.
But I know that they have nishta for my guru, and somehow from a very young age I knew that I wanted to be with them, so I could also have guru nishta.
Yeah, but
I
see,
guess this is an important topic. We need to. Sadhu Sangha, go ahead.
Yeah, but see that your faith in that person or in those people that you want to become like them, where did that come from?
You'd probably say Sukriti.
Yeah, I guess that's the easy answer. See, I'm just trying to strategize my own sons. You know, I want them to be devotees, but I understand that, like, I've seen in the past, like, you can have an amazing devotee and their children don't become devotees. Like, why does that happen?
I would say exactly what he said. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sasthikoi, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhihoi. It's something we haven't gotten into, but like time flies and we've talked about lots of things. But
his
ultimately,
question,
Sadhu Sangha is the answer.
His interesting question is, where did you get the desire to want to do the Sadhu Sangha?
So that's why we say just.
I mean, you from your very young age, you're seeing these devotees, and you feel like, and they've given you some love, so you feel some kind of like, I want to become like them because I feel reciprocation from them. I mean, in my own life, I remember at our temple here in Tawako, when I was young, my parents would drop me off at the temple, and the brahmacharis, I would hang out with them, and I wanted to be a brahmachari, like so badly. I wanted to put on saffron and be a brahmachari until I was 20 years old. I wanted to be like that, but I mean, it didn't work out the way I wanted it. But that kind of samskar that I had in the association of some brahmacharis, it was like super impression. It's left such a deep impression on me.
I would say that's actually a really good answer, and because for me also, it was growing up. We would have really cool ISKCON sannyasis hang out at my house, and we would do festivals all the time from growing up. From the time I was baby,
right?
Literally, Anuku was at my house since I was a baby.
Yeah,
and going forward to the present day. So, and the Rath Yatras and things like that. So seeing the sadhus and just seeing how it's like real sadhus. They're like Jedi almost,
Yeah, it's
like
true.
a real genuine sadhu. It's not something cheap, and
yes,
we're not that.
Right.
Not that, but
how could
there are sadhus. There are sadhus who are genuine, masters.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. And for me, going to India every year since he was 6 when we first went, 96. I was 9, and it was just like Kartik Parikrama was so cool.
Right.
1,000 people and like barefoot walking around. The prasadam was cool. I really liked like big feasts. It's something that you read about in like cool fiction. You know, like big banquets and you're feeding hundreds of people. It's something really cool. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
So if you have like a festival and you're like, Navadvip Parikrama, we feed 15,000 people. And it's so cool being part of that. Like, because you're the guys like carrying the rice and like feeding everybody. And you have like hundreds of people serving out at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, an army of devotees. It's really far out. And Kartik is the same kind of thing. And so it's really attractive. And so I would say bringing your children into cool, wonderful, like devotee association and festivals.
Yeah.
And then also, you know, sadhu sangha ultimately is the answer.
Yeah.
Without sadhu, we can't get, you know, Krishna. Without guru, we can't get Krishna. So, you know, sadhu shows us guru and guru gives us Krishna, you know, Hari Guru Vaishnava. So Vaishnava association is vital. It's vital for the parents and the children.
Right.
It has to be Vaishnava association. That can be through books, through media, and ultimately it should have some real tangible presence of sadhu. You know, lava matra sadhu sangha. You have to actually have sadhu sangha. You know, santam prasanga mama virya samvido. The association of the devotees and their discourses and their association has the Lord Shakti. So that Shakti impregnates, you know, the consciousness with transcendental power.
Through the ear.
Through the ear. Shrinatam svakata Krishna. So let them, you know, everything is centered around bringing people to hear Harikatha, and everything is kind of ornamenting that.
Right.
So I would say, you know, take your kids to Kartik and see Krishna Balaram.
And the thing is, you
hopefully we
feel
can still
it.
do that in the future.
Thing is, you feel it again, and I just keep talking about myself, but my example wasn't exactly like, oh, I want to do sadhu sangha. It was like, you know what, let me try this. What happens if I try this? I'm going to go to India. I'm going to get association.
Give it a shot.
I loved it. I felt it. And
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and I did the same, basically the same thing.
It's like a deep, you know, like a revelation almost that you have had that keeps you going. But what about for some? I feel like some challenges we have now are the kids who are kind of teenagers who have grown up as devotees, and they have seen everything, but their association with non-devotees or with friends is more than their association with devotees. So they feel like I've seen what the religion of my parents is about.
That's a good.
Now, how do we, you know, I just want to know, I'm just, you know, throw ideas at you. Like, what would you say about that? I mean, you might come across that in your preaching, you know?
You want to say anything?
I haven't had to think about it much, but parenting must be this crazy balance that you have to find, you know?
Right.
It's not all about letting them do whatever they want, and it's not about putting the iron hand over them, you know? So
Sure.
That's...
Yeah, and I guess I would say then again with that, go back to sadhu sangha, that if it's just the decoration without the essence, you know, without the spiritual essence, then it's not going to sustain them. So it has to be all the cultural stuff we do. If we imbibe Harikatha and really immerse ourselves in it, even a little bit every day, you know, you can have that as a daily kind of thing perhaps, but even that's hard to do. I know from my own experience growing up that it's hard to have that daily regimen of like, okay, now we're going to hear Bhagavatam verse, now we're going to, you know, it's like, oh, I go to school, oh, whatever, you know, dad's trying to get me to do this. It's not easy. But, you know, if we can try to take shelter of genuine sadhus sometime, even a little bit, and get their blessing. You know, Ajamil's story, it's so great because he got a sadhu's darshan and he got the name of his son from a sadhu. And that, you know, that was the seed that gave him ultimate salvation. So, you know, having sadhus, you know, and that's why real sadhus are such a wonderful thing. And it's something that, you know, we say and I'll shortly say this, but, you know, if something's really great, a lot of people will imitate it because it's an easy way to get position, to get fame. So there's lots of bogus sadhus, lots of bogus gurus. And that's something that's undeniable.
Yeah.
But what that means for an intelligent person is that there must be a genuine thing. Because the falsehood is supported on the strength of the truth. Otherwise, it loses its capacity.
Yeah.
And you take counterfeit money. There's no such thing as counterfeit money without real money. Okay? Right. Real money is the basis of counterfeit money.
Yes.
So real guru is the basis of false guru and bogus gurus. And so the people who say that all gurus are bogus, you are your own guru, that's Maya. That's Maya. I am the guru. Miyate anayati Maya. You're trying to measure everything by your own intelligence. But just logically, like, counterfeit money is there because there's genuine money. If there's no genuine money, what's the value of a counterfeit $100 bill?
Right.
So the same thing goes with guru and sadhu. So just because there are bogus gurus and bogus sadhus, which there are, just because you may be cheated, which you might, if you're sincere and you pray to Krishna, Krishna reciprocates with you accordingly. So you reciprocate with Krishna sincerely, pray to Krishna sincerely. He may send you some tests, you may get some problems in the way.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you can find, I guess, so, and I want to cap, I don't know how long you want to go, but again, like this point that we talk in broad-minded terms. Ultimately, it's very broad, but within that broadness, you need a guide. You need to walk in the footsteps of a great personality.
Yeah.
So, you have to have, that search for Guru is part of the search for Krishna. And, the Sastra says, I won't do many slokas, but basically, if a lotus flower is outside of the river, just heated by the sun, then it's going to wither and die. It's going to wilt. But if it's in the water, then the sun nourishes it. So the idea of the water and the soil that's Guru. The light of the sun is Krishna, and the lotus flower is the Jiva.
Yeah.
So without Guru, you can't get Krishna. Without Krishna, you can't get Guru. They support each other. But in our spiritual evolution, what does it say? When we become exhausted from the cycle of samsara, Krishna gives us freedom to experience samsara. At some point in that, when we realize that, ultimately there's a better opportunity. So then, tasmad gurung prapadyeta jigyasu shreya uttamam shabde parecha nishnatam brahmani upasamashrayam. That's the beginning of Vedanta Sutra, Tato Brahma Jigyasa. That's the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. It all starts with desire for inquiry into the absolute truth, which leads you to finding Sadguru, which leads you to Krishna. So you need Sadguru, you need Sadhu, and that can ultimately help people too. So that's why I'm saying that's when you get things into tangible things. The broadness is just the setting. But ultimately, you need a specific teacher.
Right. Wow.
And you should follow that teacher.
So I usually cap it out at an hour and a half, so we're about there. But thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. And so tell us about a little bit, very briefly, about your festival that you're having. I know it's COVID and
because of COVID, it's kind of limited, and because we're new in the town, and we can't kind of overwhelm the town with gatherings.
Right.
I think New York law is it caps it at 50.
Oh, really?
Perhaps. So
okay.
Who's really counting?
Right.
You say 50 and devotees, before you know it, it's 250. Yeah. So as long as one thing is
these bodies.
Yeah. But for that reason, we're trying to. We could promote it really big and
sure.
get hundreds of people, but we want to keep it intimate in a sense. At the same time, you want everyone to come. But going forward, we'll do that. I think the future should be, I'll give you an example. When we were sent here and when we first found that place that we were first really interested in, then this place as well, it was said, there should be a place like Keturi Gram. Keturi Gram was where Narottam Das Thakur brought all Vaishnavas of all different organizations of all different affiliations together to celebrate Kirtan, to celebrate Mahaprabhu, and this wonderful bhakti culture. So, that's what we want to do. And going forward, we'll do our best to make that happen. And there's ways you present it to people who are new to Krishna consciousness, but ultimately, devotees should get together and celebrate Kirtan, and having a stali for that's Baladev Tattva. Baladev is the foundation. So this ashram is really a manifestation of Baladev.
Wonderful. Do you have a name for the ashram?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Officially, the ashram is, our Gurudev's name is Bhakta Bandhav. It's not his name, it's his title. His name is Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. But in the 40s, he was given the title Bhakta Bandhav when he took Diksha. In 47, Gaur Purnima, he took Diksha, and then shortly after that, his Gurudev gave him the name Bhakta Bandhav. So it means the friend of the devotees, literally. And it's from Sastra. Sastra has a quote, it's in Hari Bhakti Vilas, it's in the Hari Purana, and it's quoted in other granthas as well. It's Ashmakam Bandhava Bhakta Bhaktanam Bandhava Vyam. That's about 10 verses. So what it means is that Krishna says, I am the dearmost friend of my devotees. The devotees are my dearmost friend. I know no one but the devotees. They know no one but me.
Right.
So that's the mood of our organization. That's the kind of spiritual culture we're trying to promote and imbibe.
Right.
With the idea that ultimately the organization is a servant of the supreme transcendental entity, right? And with that mood instantiated in the culture, in the corporation, everything. But the idea is that that name signifies a mood of serving the devotees and of bringing people together, celebrating the unity, diversity, harmony, and festivals. Okay. And Krishna says, what it means also more specifically is it means why we believe it's a transcendental thing is because it's not like a name of institution, it's a name of Krishna and Guru. Because later on in those verses, and I can show you the verses, he says, Jagatam Guruvo Bhakta Bhaktanam Guruvo Vayam. The Guru of the world is the Bhakta, and I am the Guru of the Bhakta. shows you the hierarchy. Like the real Bhakta is the Guru of the world. Vaishnava Matra Jagat Guru. Like real Vaishnavas are gurus. They teach people how to live in communion with God. So the idea is that this is Krishna and Guru Tattva. It's the absolute truth and Guru Tattva. That's what the organization means. So, and it's something about love and friendship. Bandhav means superlative friendship. There's different words for friendship, mitra, bandhu, but bandhav means dam bandhan lila. Bandhan, it's being bounded by love, a bond of love. That is to be a dear friend, dearmost friend. And Krishna is the dearmost friend of his devotees. Devotees are the dearmost friends of Krishna. Jagatam Guruvo Bhakta, the Bhaktas are the Guru of the world. Bhaktanam Guruvo Vayam, I am the Guru of the Bhaktas. And in this way, we can try to serve and help people. And again, we have to be serious in our Krishna consciousness. We have to be serious in our Krishna consciousness. We can't just be, I'm not at all promoting or favoring this kind of like, it's all good, sense grat, rules and regs don't matter. Yeah. No, we have to follow. People struggle, we shouldn't condemn them.
Yeah.
And people go through different challenges, and you shouldn't oppress or repress, especially children and things like that. Let them go up and experience and kind of have freedom of movement a bit. But at the same time, we're very serious. We have to be serious about Krishna consciousness, and we have to follow the 4 regs, because that's like the basic. You want to be a human being, Prabhupada said. First come to the position of being a human being, then try to move forward from there. So I'm not in any way saying just kind of do whatever the hell you want.
Sure.
That being said, what we are trying to do is essentially serve that principle of Guru and Krishna. And that's the name of our organization. It means, it's when people say, what are you about? It's like, this is a name of Krishna and Sastra. It's a name of Guru and Sastra. It means the friend of all devotees, as well as, you say the friend of everyone, because, you're trying to help everyone in a mood of upliftment.
Right.
And that's what we're about.
Wonderful.
And, the sad part of this whole thing, and this whole reality, is that, we're just very dim, low watt, entities trying to serve something kind of incomprehensibly great. And that's something good to remember.
That's your humility, I think. Well, anyways, thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate it. If someone wants to get in touch with you, Rasik Mohan on Facebook, they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I would go to youtube.com/Rasik Mohandas.
Okay. Yeah, you have some wonderful videos on there of philosophy and about your ashram in Vrindavan as well.
It's been, I have too many things going on, too many kind of pancakes frying at the same time. But, we'll try to develop it.
I love it. It's great.
I haven't done it at all in an organized way. And gradually we'll do things better. But you can contact me there.
Okay.
I can give you my 1-800 number.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
844 for Bhakti.
844
for Bhakti.
For Bhakti.
Yeah.
Like the number 4 Bhakti.
Yeah. So call.
If someone calls that, they'll call you.
It goes to a automated voice reception, and then it'll connect it through to me.
Awesome.
Or that you can leave a voicemail, or it'll be transcribed and come to my email. So if you want to get in touch, then you can call us there, and we'll be doing more programs like that.
Great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to coming to the ashram and bringing a bunch of ISKCON walls with me. And so thank you, everyone. This is episode 30 with Rasik Mohan and Prem Pradip. And I want to give a Haribol to Radharaman Prabhu back there, who's chanting and purifying the atmosphere here. Thank you very much. And you can find this podcast on all podcast platforms. The audio will be coming out shortly after the video on Facebook and YouTube. All right.
Danvas, real honor.
Take care. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.